morning. Every good day starts with a fresh ground coffee, but in today's video, we're going to show how to do a Boston pork butt or a Boston butt. This is the pork shoulder, if you will. That's what this common cut of meat is. It's from the horizontal portion of the body on the top side of the pig, just above the forward legs. So today, we're gonna go ahead and get that seasoned up, and we're gonna put it on our pellet smoker. If you've got a stick smoker, you could do this as well. You likely know how to control the temperature of a stick smoker better than I do, which is why I like the pellet smoker. I can set the temperature and do it. In our case, we happen to have the PitBoss combo pellet smoker and gas grill. It's a fairly new unit that just came out at the beginning of 2020 by PitBoss, made exclusively for Lowe's. We bought that one. We were looking around at a bunch of different models, and this one had the things that we thought we would like. You know, you never really know till you get it. We are about 3 months in at this point. We have enjoyed it. It's doing well for us, and we've made a lot of really, really good smoked meats, and have also used the grill side, so we were able to eliminate our small gas grill, which is one of the common complaints you hear from pellet grill or pellet smoker owners, is that you really still need a grill for searing and other things. So we have that as well. Let me grab this pork butt, show you the cut of meat we're going to be using, and then we'll take it on out to the grill and prepare it. So here's the cut I have. This is a pork shoulder. You'll see it sometimes listed as a Boston butt, a butt roast. This one, actually, they got all the keywords: pork shoulder, Boston butt roast. This one happens to be 4.3 pounds. I picked it up at my local grocery store, fresh, never frozen. It's interesting with all this coronavirus craze going around right now. I'm recording this at the end of March 2020, but with all this craze going around in the US, you know, shelves at the grocery store are fairly empty, and it's strange. Beef just about gone, all the poultry's gone, lamb is still there, and pork is still there. It's like people aren't eating pork as much, or they're not thinking to stock it up. It's strange to me. But I will say, the one good thing is if you do want beef, the things that are left in the store are all the organic, grass-fed, higher quality beef products. So we ended up not getting it. We wanted to do this pork butt. This is a great thing to do on a weekend. You can have plenty of this for food for the rest of the week. Like I said, tacos, pulled pork sandwiches. You can slice it up, make barbecue. You can mix it in the casserole. Like, there's a ton you can do with it, and it's darn flavorful. So let's get this ready. All right, we just came outside, and as I mentioned earlier, we have this particular grill model. Whatever pellet smoker you have would work the exact same way, I suspect, for temperature and time. The way I'm going to do this today is I'm going to go ahead and get this preheating. I'm going to set it on its very lowest smoke setting, and for about an hour, I'm going to just smoke the pork roast. That's it, just at its lowest setting, which on this grill is about 170, 180. That'll impart a lot of good smoke flavor early on, right into the meat. I'm then going to go ahead and turn it up after the first hour to 225 to 250. I'll probably do mine at 225 today and see how that works out. But I'm going to cook this one low and slow almost all day. I'm going to have a spritzer handy so I can spritz down the meat if it starts to look dry at any point. And I suspect this is going to take multiple hours, 3, 4, or 5 hours, not sure exactly. Though I will tell you, if you're cooking on your pellet smoker or you're trying to smoke or cook something like this, cook by temperature, not by time. Really, really important. So we like this unit. I'll start with that. Pellet smoker on that side, gas grill on this side with a side burner. It's worked out pretty well for us. And in the hopper right now, I have apple wood. You know, they say apple is really good for, any fruit wood's really good for pork. They have a competition blend, which is sort of a mix of a bunch of different wood types. Honestly, I use that one most frequently just because it's readily available. It's typically in my local store, and I think for a 20-pound bag, it's like $8 or something. You know, not too bad. And then I also have mesquite. The average person isn't going to taste the difference in most of these smoke flavors for the average thing they cook, with the exception of mesquite. That is a fairly strong flavor. And I usually reserve that for doing beef, but let's get this fired up. We'll get it preheating, and then we will go prepare our pork butt. That's a lot of P's in a row and not easy to say. Prepare our pork butt. And I'll show you how I'm going to season this. I'm going to do it a little different than I've done other things in the past. I want to impart some good flavor, but I don't want to get too much of a sweetened crust on it, but I want some of that. So I'll show you what I'm going to try out on this one. All right, let's get this fired up. I'm going to hit the power button. You'll notice it starts to glow blue right here, and then we're going to turn this knob one click, which is its smoke setting. So I'm set at P4, which is just an interval of auger, delay, and it goes from P1 to P8. I have never messed with that and haven't found a need to. So we're all set, and I will put the probe in this connection a little later during the cook. First things first, it is still morning. I actually love these nitrile gloves that you can get from Amazon. I can put a link to them down below. You can get them at Harbor Freight. I buy a whole box of them fairly cheap. I don't need them to be great, but I like the thicker ones. So these are actually 9 mil. They're good and thick. They're not thick enough to protect your hands from the heat, but they are certainly great for when you are doing something with a rub and you just throw them away right afterwards, especially in a case like this where, I don't want to go back in the house to wash my hands before I go carry this out and drop it on the grill. So that, and I keep using my camera. Don't want to get all this stuff on the camera. Today I'm trying something a little bit different too. I'm missing my islands, I guess, without travel and haven't been to Jamaica in a while. I had some Jamaican jerk powder seasoning. So I've mixed that with my brown sugar rub on the outside. I think it's going to be a really unique flavor, create a bark that has just a little bit of bite, so should be really good. All right, so let's go ahead and get this stuff put on here liberally. I'm going to open up the first one. This is the salt, pepper, garlic, and Tony Chachere's mixture. By the way, this is a bone-in pork butt, so you can see the long slivered bone here, and right here on this side, and then on the other side it's rounded. So this is sort of a round to a flat blade, if you will. And we're gonna go ahead and get this thing all seasoned up. Now, I like to sprinkle from up a little bit high just because it allows you to get good coverage here. And I'm holding my hand so I can just let some of this hit down on that side. Now I intend to use almost all of this seasoning, so I'm not too worried if I'm touching this jar. Normally, you would clean the jar. I got raw pork here on my hands, or at least on the gloves from doing this. Now, if you live in a humid area, watch out for the clumpage. Just gonna put it back in there. Shake that up so somebody doesn't get a mouthful of whatever that particular clumped up seasoning was. It's fine if it's something like brown sugar. It's a whole other one if it's pepper or something like that. All right, let's flip this over, and you'll notice that this has a nice fat cap on the bottom of it. And I'm gonna cook it fat side up because I want this renders to soak all down into the meat. All right, so again, just sprinkling this on here, and I'm patting it on or rubbing it. You don't have to rub it in too hard, but what you want to do is create kind of a layer, a thin layer all over all of this. So I am actually turning this on its side because of how thick it is and making sure that we get the sides too. You don't want to just do the top and bottom and then forget about the rest. It would be a shame. Now, because of the salt content in this rub, what's going to happen is it's going to draw out some of the moisture from the pork, and that's exactly what I want. This is going to create sort of a glistened layer over the top, and I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes after I season this up with this first layer. Once that moisture comes back out, that will give me a sticking layer, if you will, to put my second rub on. You'll notice I'm going around all sides of this thing. I really want this good and coated. You know, if you have an opening like this where the meat's got a little bit of a split, don't be shy in there either. Same with here. See, look at that. That's a great place for flavor to just impart in there as that fat melts and just carries that flavor down through the meat. Okay, we're gonna let this just go ahead and sit now for about 10 minutes or so. What I'm looking for is that salt to draw the moisture out and form sort of a glistening layer. I still see dry portions of it on here. I don't want to see that. I want to see it just kind of glistening, the whole thing, almost like a glaze on it. That tells me that enough moisture has come out that I can put my second layer of seasoning on. And this is the one that's salt, pepper, brown sugar, and jerk seasoning. And there's quite a bit of sugar in it. By the way, I wouldn't buy rubs at the store. You certainly can, but they're so easy to make at home, and you can sort of play around with the flavors, which is a lot of fun. But 10 minutes later, you'll notice that this has sort of a glistening look to it, right? It's moist again because the salt has pulled the fluid out of the meat. So now I'm going to put the second coat of rub onto this particular meat. So it's about a 1/4 part salt, pepper, garlic, about 4 parts of brown sugar, and about 2 parts of jerk seasoning. No real recipe there, by the way. I just eyeballed that. All right, just like before, we're going to go ahead and sprinkle this from a high. I have a little clumpage here because it was brown sugar. You certainly get some of that. So let's start with sprinkling some of this on here. It'll kind of mound up, but we'll use our hands and rub it around it real good. We want to form a nice little bark, if you will, a nice layer all the way across this thing. As this cooks, this bone right here, you can see that bone is gonna separate from the meat. So there's a lot of good flavor that's gonna work its way in around that bone. All right, I have it sitting fat side down right here. When I go out to the grill, I'm gonna flip it over and put it fat side up. So let me show you why I love these gloves so much. This is such a great trick. While your hands are all nasty, right, you can sort of pinch the wrist right here. You don't even have to touch your skin, and pull it backwards right over your hand. Take your glove, stick it into your other hand without touching it so you get a good clean hand, and then do the same thing right here. So we got a real nice smoke going. As they first fire up, they get a lot of smoke. All right, we're out at the grill. We've got the pork butt sitting over on the tray there. We're sitting at 180 degrees right now, which is exactly what we want. That's a good low temperature. It's the smoke setting medium P4 on this grill. Let's go ahead and let's open this up and get this guy in here. You'll notice I have a couple of things with me. One, a small little spritz bottle, and I just have a little bit of apple juice in it for some flavor. So as it dries out later, I want to get that good crisp bark formed on it. So when it starts to look dry, we'll spray a little bit of this on there. It'll dry again, and it sort of forms that crust, or what they call a bark. Also have a pair of tongs. Because I'm not wearing the gloves, I'm going to use this to put the meat down onto the grill and not get it all over my hands. I'm going to basically put this right on here, fat side up. I'm going to go ahead and close the lid, and we'll come back in 1 hour, and at that point we will turn it up to 225 degrees. I just want to let the smoke really permeate into that. It's still early in the morning. I have plenty of time. The idea is this thing will get done sort of mid-afternoonish. We can have it for lunch, brunch, early dinner, whatever it happens to be, and then shred the rest up, toss it in the fridge, and have it all week long in tacos and pulled pork sandwiches and anything else we ultimately want to make. So if we open this up and take a look at it, the internal probe is reading 141. You can see it's looking really good. Let me, I'm going to zoom in on this, show you how, when it looks dry, I spritz it with the apple juice, and then we're going to flip it over, and I'm going to cook it the rest of the time fat cap down to protect the meat layer from getting too crispy. I don't want to wrap it in foil, though. That does tend to tenderize it. So you can see here how it's starting to dry a little bit, and I just take my little sprayer with apple juice in it and just mist it every so often like this, all sides. Let's go ahead and get this flipped over. We can see it's definitely getting tender. This is much easier to do with a glove, but I'm not going to do it that way. All right. As a matter of fact, I think I am going to wrap this in foil, let it tenderize, and have that start pulling off of there. All right, so we've got that wrapped. We'll let this go for probably another hour, 2 hours. So it's about 162 over on this spot. I think I'm gonna wrap it up and just put it in a little bit longer, just to make sure. Since I've got it wrapped, I'm not too worried about it getting too dry. So I'm gonna start with checking the temperature in a few spots on this thing. I'll just go ahead and get this opened up again. We'll close that up and we'll come check on it in about another 30 minutes or so. All right, it's been about another 30 minutes. I think this is ready to be pulled off of here. Let's go ahead and get this on the tray. All right, we'll take this inside, let it rest, and we'll show you what it looks like. All right, so I just brought this into the sort of countertop here outside. Let's go ahead and open this up. I'll zoom in on it, show you what it looks like. It's been resting for about 25 or 30 minutes. We'll look at the green beans first and just set those aside. We'll take this pork out. I'll test it a few different places of it. I don't think it's quite as tender as I was hoping, but I think it's still gonna flake apart perfect for doing that pulled pork. I was trying to pull that bone the wrong way. It's got that sort of anchor on it right there. All right, look at that. Comes out nice and clean. When it comes out clean like that, you know it's good and tender. So that is good stuff. And I'm cutting it, though, quite frankly, you don't have to. You can easily just sort of pull this apart like you would typically with pulled pork. Hey, right over here. Hey, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, give the video a like and a thumbs up. Thanks a bunch, man, appreciate it. All right, so here we have it. I mean, this is literally a huge old bowl of pulled pork, and it is good stuff. So let's find a couple of pieces here and give this a try. Again, it's got good flavor on it. It could stand to be a little bit more tender.
I think next time I do this, I may wrap it earlier, just because I'd want that to pull away from that bone so much that I should have been able to grab that bone and just pull it straight out of the meat. I want it that tender. So it's not quite that tender, but it's really, really flavorful. That rub gave it a great bark and permeated really down through it pretty well. Even the smoke is good. The spray with the apples, just apple juice, helps as well. We'll see y'all next time.